welcome to MGP491. I'm Kev, and with me as ever, the Sheepdog, Anna and Pab. Say hello, boys and girls.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello.
Hello.
It's the Pokémon Launch Day Special! Hooray! Sheepdog, you need to leave now. We traditionally do this without you.
Yeah,
this is not okay for you to be here for the Pokemon episode.
I turned
When we go into great depth on the first 40 minutes or so, because that's all we've played. But there'll be great depth on that first 40 minutes, everybody. We know everything about that first 40 minutes. You'll be getting all sorts of thoughts, reviews, detailed conversation. Not yet, of course. Before all that, I have a story about my testicles to tell you. But before that, you heard, how are we all doing? Is everyone good? We all had a delightful week?
Yeah, it was all right.
You're not too bad.
Would you want to hear about my testicles then, Pab?
Not overly, but you're going to tell me anyway.
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have been suffering from kidney stones lately. And one of the things about kidney stones is they make the whole of the areas ache. So I've had achy back, achy stomach, achy leg, achy ball sack. So I went to the doctors to check this out, and he fondled everything and said, yeah, nothing to worry about in the old chestnuts. I will, however, refer you to the hospital because we just need to give you an ultrasound to check these kidney stones, see what the situation is with them. It's been going on for a while. Let's go and check out the old kidney stones. So I thought, that sounds like a jolly good idea, doctor. I consent. So they made me an appointment. I went to that appointment this week. Wandering in there, I'd had a phone call a few days before telling me to drink 2 pints of water an hour before I went in, not go to the toilet, need to make sure I have a full bladder so they can get a real good look at my kidneys. So did all that, wandered in, having a lovely day, happy as Larry, walked in. The doctor said, hello, Mr. Chapman, how are you? Do you mind just slipping off your trousers? I'm like, fair enough. However you want to view my kidneys, doc, I'm happy to comply. If you'd just like to lie down on that bed as well, of course I'll lie down on the bed. The next bit was weird because he asked me to remove my pajamas, which I established. I think he meant my children's toy car mat set underpants. So I was like, if you want the pants off, you can have the pants off. He said, just pull them down to your knees. That'll be fine. You're the doctor.
You're very understanding.
Pulled them down around my knees. And then he said, have you had an ultrasound before? Yeah, I've had a few. You know, the gel's quite cold then. Yeah. Squirts the gel all over my balls. And I'm like, oh, blimey, it is cold down there. And then he got his ultrasound machine and proceeded to spend the next 10 minutes or so manipulating my testicles, taking photographs from every angle under the sun. Ages he was on my balls. And then eventually he was done, scrunched up a big bit of kitchen roll, handed it to me and said, there you go, you can clean yourself off. And I was like, oh, are we done?
Normally your line. Go on.
Yeah, we're done. So I went over to the other side of the room, pulled my pants back up, put my trousers on, shoes on, hoodie back on, walking towards the door. See you then. And he's like, bye. Open the door. And as I'm half out the door, he said, one moment, Mr. Chapman. Was this for kidney stones? Yes. Come back over. I need to do your kidneys and your bladder. I was just like, okay, fair enough. I did think that's what I was here for. And we never spoke again about the 10 minutes he spent fondling and taking photos of my testicles. And I was too British, too shy to say, was that a mistake? I mean, for all I know, someone else's file is now full of pictures of my balls. Or maybe it's part of the kidney stone check and he was just being very thorough but then forgot to look at my actual kidneys. But either way, I did eventually have my kidneys and my bladder scanned. That took 5 or 10 minutes as well. Completely different part of the body for those of you who are not experts in biology. And then finished off again, headed to the door. I said, are we completely done this time? He said, yeah, that's fine. Bye. And then I left. So I don't know if I was supposed to have my balls rummaged through for 10 minutes.
Question, are you sure it was an ultrasound and not a 3D scanner?
No idea. Wouldn't know the difference between the two.
Because if someone starts selling 3D printing your balls, they're going to make a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that I'm a much more trusting man than I thought I was. And apparently, if a doctor wants to spend 10 minutes creaming up my balls and poking a stick at them from every angle, I'm just going to let him, even if I'm there about my kidneys. Because, he's the doctor. Or apparently he wasn't a doctor, he was an ultrasound technician. He's the ultrasound technician. I'm sure he knows which part of the body the kidneys are in.
Hearing you say apparently he wasn't a doctor, I'm like, Kev, where were you? Just out in the street.
Oh, I mean, I was in the hospital, sort of. I mean, it was definitely the hospital. Well, no, it was definitely the hospital. It was very close to Costa Coffee. I don't think it was I don't think I wandered into Costa Coffee and had my balls done.
How much pain meds are you on?
None at all. And this is part of the problem. Maybe I need some pain meds to sharpen the old mind. Because, I mean, what do you do in that situation? At what point do you say, are you sure you should be looking at my balls? Do you, or do you just let it happen? I think you in particular, Sheepdog, you're letting the man do your balls. I know you are.
No, I tend to go in and tell them why I'm there in the first place and have a chat with them.
Oh, no, none of that. My theory is he can read.
I would have come in and said, I'm here to have my kidneys scanned for kidney stones, and they'd have gone, all right.
Before or after you took off your pants?
I mean, again, I would have commented, I would have said, this is a bit unusual, isn't it? I feel like I would have questioned it all the way through. I don't think I'd have taken... I mean, you know I don't particularly take my trousers off at the best of times, so...
Whereas I'm always keen to show people my balls, so it was like, second nature, get the balls out. It's like a reflex for me. Just whip the balls out.
Maybe he didn't ask, you were just already naked and he thought you might as well scan him while he's there.
I mean, yeah, I was nervous. Did he say take off your trousers? Yeah, that would be a problem. It was when he described my pants as pajamas that threw me, and that I spent 5 minutes thinking about that before I zoned back in on. Hang on, he's all over my balls here. He's not going anywhere near my kidneys. But I've been thinking about pajamas for ages, wondering why he called my underpants pajamas. Because that was weird. Who wears pajamas under jeans? He thinks that's what I'm doing.
He's on his podcast talking about the idiot who came in wearing pajamas under his jeans.
But yeah, so I mean, I assume my balls aren't rotten to the core because a couple of days later I got a text message from the doctors saying my ultrasound results were in. They're going to phone me on the 21st of December to discuss the results with me.
Right before Christmas, just to really ruin you.
Yeah, so I assume everything is all good down there. I mean, I guess it's nice to have a. I'm 40 years old now. It's nice to have a man really pay attention to my testicles. It'll put the mind at rest.
Well, you'd be worried if they mix up the scans and say that your kidneys are full of something weird. Something swimming around in your kidneys, mate.
You've got the first ever case of testicle stones. What's this all about?
So that was your weekend, was it, or your week?
No, that was my Tuesday.
Your Tuesday.
Having my balls done by the nice man.
While you were podcasting last week, which I listened to the start and end of, just because that's what I do.
That's why we talked about you in the middle.
No, you talk about me at the start and end. I skip through. I know how it works. Pabby saying they won't tell me that they're doing a Pokemon podcast. I have to listen to the end of the show to know that. I was already listening, Pab. I'd skip straight to it. But no, while you were doing that, I was in a pub watching an old lady sing Gangster's Paradise on karaoke, which was highly entertaining. They were doing a karaoke night. People kept picking songs. My mates kept picking songs that would get the crowd going, and then these people kept picking songs that were super depressive and about, like, missing some dead person or a soldier dying. And it's like, what are you doing? And then, yeah, midway through the night, this lady got up, picks her song, they call her out. I don't know what her name was. It was something like Mabel, like, Mabel, step up. And I'm thinking, what's she going to sing? Here we go. It's going to be depressing. And then just her, duh, 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 the start of Gangster's Paradise. And we were like, what on earth? And she just did the whole song. It was fantastic. I got to see the next morning, got to see some baby seals be born and stuff, which is very good. I'm going back there tomorrow. And I just had lots of fun revisiting places in Lincoln we did on the podcast, 10 years ago, which is very good fun.
What do you mean you saw baby seals get born? What are you talking about?
Well, there's a place, I didn't actually see it be born. I saw it just after it had been born. So there's like a place called Nook that's near Skegness. It's about 20 minutes from Skegness. And this time of year, you drive up there, you park your car. There's like a little mini market on where people are selling fruit and veg and stuff, which is bizarre. We parked up. My mate said to me, we're going for a walk by the seaside. There's going to be some seals there. And I just thought he meant in the distance. So we walked up this little hill, not a hill, just like an entrance going through from the field to the beach. And the moment we stepped up this like walkway, I just gasped because there was like 500 seals just laying there in the grass, in little water pools, all sorts of ages, little white baby ones. We were just stood there filming them, taking pictures of them, asking. Well, the man was talking at us while we were kind of there. I asked him a couple of questions because I wasn't sure about some bits, and he was telling me a story about a man. They every year they all come there to have their babies. They do little blood tests on them and stuff, check they're okay, and then they release them all out. And he was saying that because I was trying to film one from like leaning over the fence a bit, and he was like, if your phone drops in, you have to leave it there because we can't get it back because their bites are really hard. And he was saying that a bloke was trying to blood test one of them with it between his legs, and it bit his ass, and its bite went through 7 layers of clothes and cut him. I was like, bloody hell.
Well, there's a man who wears his pajamas under his jeans.
Exactly,
that's for sure.
yeah.
7 layers of clothes.
That was my complete first thought, was 7 layers. Like, even if his T-shirt dangled over his butt a little bit because he was wearing a long one, what on earth was he wearing? I'm thinking pants, trousers, T-shirt. Where are the other 4 layers there? Was he wearing
pajamas?
I mean, what could he? It doesn't make sense, does it? Swim shorts, a long coat, maybe.
Chainmail.
But he was saying the adult ones are even bigger biters, and they had like this bit where a baby was sleeping right next to the fence, so they put another fence round the fence so that you couldn't go too close because the mum would try and jump the fence and bite you if you got too close.
I would love to see a seal jump a fence. That would be worth doing.
I thought that. Now, while we were standing at this end, somebody said, oh, there's one that's just been born up the way, and so we just made our way like slowly. We didn't sort of rush up there. And when we got there, it's about 10 minutes old, and there was still blood all over the sand where it had been born, and the whatever stuff comes out with that. And the mum was just off in a pool chilling out while the baby was laying there for a minute. And every time there was a noise, she'd look up and have a look round to make sure the baby was all right. And then we watched her try and teach it to walk. She just sort of went round it a few times, was like nudging it, rolling over to offer it some milk, and it was just kind of trying to flap a bit and not really going. It was quite fun to just watch him try and figure it out. I filmed that bit. I need to put that on something at some point. But yeah, it was cute just watching him trying to negotiate it moving, and it just couldn't be bothered. But yeah, it was very cool. I'd recommend going. It's only about less than a couple of hours from you.
Do I get to keep a seal?
I mean, I don't see how they'd stop you. They're volunteers, so they've not got any authority. And if you've got a bag and a way of a receptacle, some sort of net, what are they going to do?
Just like a seal just leave him in the bath. He could live in our bath. That'd be great.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if I'd have grabbed the baby by the scruff of its neck and ran, who's going to stop me? Well wishers might have tried.
The fence jumping mother seal. I think the man explained that to you, didn't he?
2 things that alarmed me when we were there was, as we were walking through that entrance bit where I said I was really shocked, my mate picked up a bullet off the floor, because it's a military training area apparently, but there was just a bullet on the floor, like a used bullet, a bullet casing. I asked him if it had his name on it, and when he looked, it had his initials on it, and he didn't keep it. He just lobbed it into a bush. And I was like, if I found a bullet and then looked at it and it had my initials on it, I'd be like, right, I'm keeping that. Because I said to him, someone's going to pick that up, they're going to reload it, and then they're going to shoot you with it now. You had the bullet with your name on it in your hand, and you've just thrown it off for it. I said, a seal's going to assassinate him now, when you least suspects it. But there was a sign in the seal bit saying, if you see any military debris in here, leave it alone, it'll probably explode. And I kept watching the seals thinking, I wonder if any of them are on any debris. I wonder if any of them are going to accidentally nudge a mine or something. I assume there's not mines on the Norfolk coast, but yeah, it was a bit weird that there was this whole big seal area where all the soldiers apparently practiced and stuff. But yeah, I'm going back
I'm a little
tomorrow.
bit alarmed that you were near Skegness and also simultaneously in Norfolk.
Aren't they just... Oh, no, it's Lincolnshire, isn't it? Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely not the same place, no.
No, it's still Lincolnshire, isn't it? I forgot. I thought they're relatively close together, aren't they, though?
Norfolk's the other side of the wash. Hunstanton is Norfolk.
Oh,
You have to drive past, what would you call it? Your house to get to Norfolk from where you were.
Yeah, I was in Spilsby, and I went to Donner's Nook and then Skegness to play some golf. And it turns out my friends were very much enjoying the fact that I didn't know how to lightly tap a golf ball. And no matter how hard I tried to lightly tap it, I always power drived it. I always blasted it as hard as I could, or far too hard for the situation. The amount of times I bounced the ball out of the hole was ridiculous.
This is why we don't let you come and play adventure golf with us when the three of us go adventure golfing together.
Foot golf,
which we have done.
We have
Yeah.
done.
We have. We've gone adventure golfing without you, Sheepdog.
Yeah, in
Sorry, I don't know.
Manchester.
Yeah. Pab cheated, though, the way he does at bowling as well.
I heard you talking about axe throwing last week. I feel like my overzealous.
Yeah, me and Anna are
strength
going axe
would be
throwing
good.
again in a
No,
couple
you
of
went
weeks.
axe throwing at the thing you went to, Comic-Con.
I didn't
Comic-Con.
actually throw any axes. The axe throwing was there, but I didn't. I mean, you know,
I did
I
see
didn't want to show them up.
Saw the
You
axe
said on the
throwing.
podcast that you did. I'm very disappointed in you.
I was involved in the process. I didn't actually throw one myself.
But I want to throw one. I want to just because I think that
There's a technique to it. Anna's very good.
Yes, I am.
I just feel like my out of control lack of coordination on how much strength I'm putting into it would be quite good at just smacking that.
No, it's all about control. You have to do it quite gently, quite slowly, release at just the right point. We came away from our axe throwing that we did last year, Anna wanting me to buy her some axes for home, which luckily she's never asked for since.
Christmas is coming.
It's just because I was really good.
Yeah,
at
and I'm
it.
taking her to the axe throwing place again. That's enough.
Yeah, but
She doesn't
last
need
year,
to throw axes in the garden.
last year, Kevin, I didn't have back pain. This year, I
So I'm
do.
going to win this year. Now we know why I'm taking you back there, so I can win this year.
I just need my maybe if I'm gonna have my operation, and then I can beat you again. But yeah,
The problem
year,
is, because your operation is on your kidneys, you're going to go in and they're going to start rummaging around your testicles. We've already established that.
I will make sure I'm like,
You're going to
My
walk in, they're going to
kidneys,
say,
yeah.
"Can you remove your trousers, please?" He's going to be like, "You've not got any kidneys. I can see that from here."
Are you sure he
Goodness
didn't
me.
think you were Anna and he was going to scan your kidneys and then thought, what the hell are these?
I'm not going to read whose name is on the letter. If I see a letter with an appointment on, I'll assume it's for me.
He spent 15 minutes scanning these weird droopy things hanging from this woman that's come in, and he's like, this doesn't look healthy at all. I need to send her off to a specialist to sort this out. Kidneys can wait.
The best part was, I forgot the best part, by the way. I can't believe I missed this out. This was the highlight of this story on the stream. Before he started rummaging with my testicles, he took a piece of kitchen roll, folded it in half, handed it to me, so that there was one end in one of my hands, one end in the other of my hands. He deliberately handed it to me like that, and he said, "Use that to hold your penis out of the way." And I'm like, what? I mean, you want me to just kind of loop this around it and pull? Can I not just use my hands? I don't understand. I mean, it was a cold room and there was a strange man holding my balls. There wasn't much penis to hold out of the way. I wasn't confident I could get this kitchen roll around it. It was up in my lungs.
Yeah, he's probably worried about saying the wrong thing and you poking his eye out, though, isn't he?
Well, yeah, once I got over the initial shock, once I stopped thinking about pajamas, all I could think while I was lying there was, don't get an erection, don't get an erection, don't get an erection. Because if I'm sat there while he's fondling my nuts and all of a sudden I stand to attention, what are we going to talk about then? Oh, my word. So a little video game called Pokémon came out this week, boys and girls. Shall we talk about that and pretend we didn't just have a really abrupt cut in the podcast?
it's Mrs. Sheepdog's birthday today, and so obviously I've spent all of it waiting for Pokemon to arrive. And I ordered her an afternoon tea where they brought like sandwiches and cakes and stuff. And
that's
that
nice.
came, and I was very disappointed, but it wasn't Pokemon. She wasn't home, so she didn't see the disappointment when I opened the door, and it was just a man holding food. I was still happy it was food, but it wasn't what I wanted.
Why did you order an afternoon tea when she wasn't there?
No, she was supposed to be there. She went shopping with her mum in the morning. It's like a birthday morning out. They just went out together for a bit. Lunch was this tea delivery, and we were sat at the table then when she got home eating our cake. And
if she went out this morning, was she childless?
yeah,
Oh,
like,
God.
dropped the kids. She
Excellent.
dropped the kids at school, dropped my car off to have its windscreen replaced, and then her mum picked her up and they went into town shopping.
Feels like she could have bought Pokemon while she was out.
Yeah, so we were sat there eating our cakes and sandwiches and stuff, and there was like a little noise at the front door, and I leapt out of my chair. She was mid-sentence, and I was just on the other side of the room. Like, I don't even know how I don't even remember moving. I was just by the door picking it up, and I thought, when did I leave the table? I was just like, what on earth? And this was like, it was about 20 minutes before she got home quite late, so it was maybe about half an hour before she had to go and get Ollie. So I was just sort of sitting there thinking, right, I'll do the update. I expected the update to take ages, but it was super quick. I was surprised. They tell you there's a 1 gig update on it. So I sort of put Ollie's in, put mine in, started the update, and then the next time I looked at my Switch, it was already done, and I thought, oh no, I've got to wait till Ollie gets home. I hadn't really promised him, but I thought the other 2 times there's been a major release, we've sort of sat next to each other, set it all up, started the game, and so I did it all, and then they come home, and I was like, I've just had the call saying my car's ready to pick up, and Ollie's face was just like, oh, you son of a... So I was like, we'll play it when we get back. Huh?
What happened to your window screen?
I don't know. I think it's just a pebble hit it, but on the sheet it says vandalism, and I was like, what do they know that I don't? That they're calling it vandalism. I think a pebble just hit it, and then the cracks just got bigger and bigger and bigger over time because I ignored it. But yeah, they've replaced the windscreen. Ollie's face when I told him he had to wait while we went and did that, he was just like, oh. I said, well, I want to play it too. Got my car. Interestingly, when we got there, the bloke was like, you can't wash the window for a couple of days. And I was like, I haven't washed that car in the 2 years I've owned it. And he was like, well, if you decide to wash it, hand wash it only. And I was like, no, I'm not going to wash it. Stop telling me to wash it. So I left, and the whole way home I kept thinking, is he telling me this windscreen's going to fly off at any moment? It didn't. It's still there. But if anyone wants to come and push it out now's the time, if you want to see a windscreen pop out. But when we got home, I said to Ollie, right, let's go, let's start. Let's do it. Let's start the game up. And we both pressed play at the same time, and it was running through everything identically. And then Mrs. Sheepdog called me out of the room for like 2 minutes. So then it just meant Ollie was slightly ahead of me at every turn. Like I ended up turning the text speed up on the game, which he hasn't done. So I caught up with him quite quick, like quite a bit, but there was still a gap. And he just kept going, oh, there's someone at the door. And then like a minute later, they'd be like, oh, answer the door, Sheepdog. And then he'd be like, oh, the Pokemon. Oh, which one shall I? And I was like, Ollie, you've got to stop narrating what you're doing. And he was like, oh, I'm fighting my rival. And I was like, please stop telling me what's going on. I didn't know she was the rival. I thought she was just some random person. And he's like, oh, there's a noise. Oh, it's... And I'm just like, Ollie, like, I'm going in the other room. This is getting on my nerves. And then I got slightly ahead of him. And he was like, no, wait, stop. Don't go ahead of me. I don't want you to know everything. And I'm like, oh, you monkey. But that's been my sort of ordeal tonight of just him being a step ahead and me just being like, for the love of God, stop telling me. He was like, oh, the mum's giving me a sandwich. And I'm like, I'm literally about to talk to the mum. But... yeah, going back to the actual game, it's. I mean, I'm loving it so far. I'm very impressed. How are you finding it as a starting game? Is it just Kevin Pab that played it, or have you played it as well, Anna?
No, I've not played it. I've been playing.
I got you a copy.
You have, but I've been into another game this week that...
Boo and hiss.
Not Boo and Hiss. Excellent. Excellent game.
I will say that I think it must be due a bit of an update for one thing, and it's not a problem for me. I don't mind this sort of thing. But there's a couple of clipping bits that I thought were going to annoy Anna. For example, I slid down a hill and a Pokemon battle started at the bottom of the hill. And the whole battle, my trainer was just in the hill. I couldn't move the camera.
That's so
And I thought,
annoying.
Anna, I was like, Anna would stop here, and that'd be all we'd hear on the podcast. But that's that sort of thing. I'm just like, yeah, no, that happens sometimes, you know. But other than that, I've not had any problems. I was worried because like Gen 7 gives you a 3-hour tutorial. You can't skip anything in that, but I think Gen 8 has a little bit of that. Whereas this one lets you skip videos if you want to, skip FMVs. I think that's what it says. And it lets you just do what you want, basically, doesn't it? I mean, we were all discussing before the show that we've all been given the ability to go to a certain place, and we've just not done it, and we're just roaming around freely,
Catching all the Pokemon.
Yeah, how many have you got
I'm
so
getting
far?
frustrated about the ridiculous lack of voice acting in 2022.
Yep.
Is there no voice
There's not room
acting?
for it.
Of course,
Nothing.
there's no voice acting. It's absurd.
There's not enough room for voice
Absolutely.
acting in all the
What do you mean
languages.
there's not
on
enough
this.
room? Just
Well, they
do
always
it in
use-
English.
They always use the same cartridge size, don't they? And so it's a 16 gig cartridge, and the games are always about 14 gig.
Or
once
just
they've got-
down with. I mean, Diablo. How long's that been out on the Switch? 3 years, 4 years. When you get that, the first thing it does is asks you what languages you want to download, and you just download the language. You download the voice acting. There and
Yeah,
then.
and The
it's right
Witcher's
there.
on the Switch as well, and that's got voice acting.
Yeah, that's such a stupid cop-out reason. They need voice acting. It's 2022. It's ridiculous that they don't have voice acting.
God, The Witcher on the Switch.
It's
Is that
awful.
right? No, it's
It's
saying
not-
it's 30. It's 28 gig. Bloody hell!
Yeah.
That is twice the size of the Pokemon file size. I wonder if
So there's no excuse.
I do wonder why they don't make it bigger. But I think part of that's because they wouldn't sell as many digital copies. Surely.
Also,
Huh?
The Switch is upgradable for storage.
Yeah, but they don't.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is they wouldn't want to have a game that you download. It takes up 3/4 or all of your Switch, and then you can't use it unless you go and buy another memory card and stuff like that. I know for
nobody
you guys,
has a Switch without a memory card. That's nonsense.
kids don't have memory cards, do
Of course they
Yeah, of course they
do.
do.
This is a game aimed at kids.
Yeah,
I
and
think-
all kids have a memory card.
I doubt it.
Also,
Need I remind you again? It's 2022.
This,
What does that mean?
this game is 6.6 gigabytes.
No, it's not.
It is.
I don't think it is.
I'm
I was
looking at how much
it
space
recently.
it takes up on my memory card right now.
Yeah, but what's on the cartridge itself, or you got the download of you?
I've got to download, yeah.
That's interesting, because the last one was the one. Oh, God, it's only 7 gig. Jesus. Why is this half the size of the last game?
It's half the game in it.
Yeah, that's worrying,
They've
isn't it?
taken out all.
why
They've
you
taken
got
out
a
all
bite.
the nice graphical overlay stuff when you're doing battles and replaced it with something really clunky looking.
That's shocking. I didn't know that. Hang on, another place says that it's 10 gig, but no, the last gen was 13 gigs. That's what I was going by. What's it called? Sword and Shield. They ended up being about 14 overall.
Is it after the add-ons, though?
I
There's
think
two
so. Let me just
DLCs
double
with that.
check. Pokemon
So-
Sword file size.
I mean, I could tell you. I could have
Yeah,
used
so it's
to open it up.
12.4 without the add-ons, and it was just under 14 gig with the add-ons. That has thrown me that it's half the size. What on earth are they playing at? Have they really hard? Making me nervous about how long these games are, because I've not done any research on this up front. I just wanted to play it cold and clean. That's a little bit concerning, because I don't know how many new ones are in it, how many new evolutions are in it. I don't know how many new concepts or whatever are in it. It's just, yeah, I'm going in completely new, and I mean, I am enjoying it so far. I haven't got any complaints. I don't care about the voice acting stuff, but I understand the point that, yeah, having talking in it seems sensible. I'm sort of hoping that they might plan to do some kind of bloody free upgrades, DLCs along the way. Like they only did little ones with Arceus, actually, didn't they? But I don't know. I've got no idea what the plan is for this. You've made me nervous now. I'm stuttering a bit because I'm like, how short is this game? That's
I mean,
blown
my
mind.
first thoughts as well, looking at it, it does seem like a step back from Arceus. It doesn't feel on the same level as that game, which is alarming as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In that Arceus seemed to have more polish, I want to say, maybe. But
Yeah, it
I'm
just
only in
felt
the early
like it-
bit.
It felt shiny and new and splendid, whereas this feels like the Wild Zone thing from the previous generation. So far, that's
Do you know
all
what?
it feels
Legends
like.
Arceus is only 6 gig,
There you go.
which is also throwing me. So why was Sword and Shield so bloody massive?
All that DLC.
That's without the DLC.
Yeah.
12 gig.
Sword and Shield was twice the file size without the DLC. The DLC was only about it was 1.5 gig. I am really, really confused. I'm less
I'm going to
concerned
task you with
now.
doing some research.
I'm less concerned now I know that Arceus, I don't know how to say it. I'm less concerned about the quality of this game, knowing that Legends was 6 gig and this is 7 gig, because that means that it's got to at least be as long as Legends was. And perhaps they've just decided to be a bit cleverer about the way they do the games.
I mean, let's be honest. Just comparing the size of a game, the file size, to the length of a game isn't 100% accurate.
No, it's not. But
it's just the texture stuff. I don't know. It's not. It could be. I don't. We've played what? What's the total? We've played an hour. The first hour, should we say? To be
Yeah, I've played maybe an hour. Yeah.
I've played more
So
than
we
that.
just
but,
don't know yet. We just don't know what deal is. It's open world, so that could play a part.
I got to download a Pikachu from the mystery gift man, so
Yes,
that made me
yes,
happy.
yes.
I've got all my Pokeballs that I can go and get from getting my lovely Steelbook edition, so that's made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just going to run around in the long grass until I've used up my 200 Pokeballs. Then I'll get on with what the game's telling me to do. I'm going to come out of that grass with so many Pokies and at such a high level that the rest of the game can just autopilot itself. That's my plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
It
trying
is
to
quite
look
fun being able to chuck your Pokemon out and he just does all the fighting. One of my favourite moments so far with this has been sitting side by side with Ollie. We were doing whatever we were doing, and he just went, "Oh no, no! Oh my god! He's massacring everything! He's gone on a killing spree! Someone stop him!" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he'd let his starter out, and it had just killed everything in sight. He was just like, "No!" So he put his starter away and got a little bird out instead because he thought his starter was just cruel or whatever. And I was like, "No, you told it to do that." It was very entertaining hearing him panic.
Okay.
But that's a cool feature because you don't have to then stop and kill everything. You could. I threw my Frococo, I can't even say it, Frococo into, because it's a fire type. I threw it into a little crowd of grass type Pokemon, and they all succumbed to his massacring ways. We haven't even acknowledged this part. What starters have you picked?
I broke all the rules whilst going on doing my old-fashioned rule. Well, when I went to the Pokemon World Championships in the summer, they were giving away the hats of the 3 starters for this game, and the guy said, "Which one do you want?" And I said, "You pick, and then I'll use that as my starter when the game comes." And he gave me the stupid green cat. So I've got the stupid green cat hat, and I opened the game up, kind of thinking I might stick to my word. And then I saw the little red guy with a big mouth and thought, "You, sir, are amazing. You're fantastic. I like the look of you." But then I realised that every game I've ever played, I've always gone for the water-based starter and called him Martin. So I went for the water one and called him Martin. So Martin's back, everybody!
Cool. I went for Coco and called it Wasabi because it looks like a little pepper. And
I mean, I did
spicy
as well.
boy.
I did as well. Only simply because I looked up what. But I know what they look like. I was like, I want to know what we're working with here.
See, this is something that I found quite entertaining. Was I was really annoyed because sometimes if you look out, they're spoiling the starters online, and I was like, oh well, I'll avoid that. And then I was on Instagram, and my mate who I was with at the weekend was like, well, he went, "I've just sent you something on Instagram," and I loaded it, and it was just the starters. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, like I've literally just said to Lewis, I'm not going to look them up, and then he sent me them. But then, while I was just on Twitter, somebody else tweeted out a picture of the starters and moaned about their evolutions, and it wasn't the same pictures I'd seen on Instagram. So I was like, now I don't know what to expect. So, I mean, well, 2 of them were the same, and the Frococo wasn't the same. So, I mean, everyone's been saying they don't look great. I feel like Sprigatito's evolution looks fine. You know, it looks
they all
like
look fine. Nothing
a
looked bad.
grass cat. Quaxly's evolution is no worse than Inteleon from the last one, the little spy gecko thing. But yeah, for Coco's evolution, looked like in one of the pictures looked really brutal. I was like, okay, cool, that'll do. It doesn't really look like a Pokemon; it just looks like an angry-looking animal.
Alligator.
So, yeah, alligator. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get used to them. I always find they're a little bit alarming at first, anyway. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm relieved there's not a really long tutorial. I'm relieved we don't have to sit there through arduous talking and waffling. You got straight into a battle. You got straight into make your way to this place. Oh, look, there's all the stuff you can see in the distance kind of thing. Right,
I mean,
go to school.
I think that might come with school. I feel like a bit more talky might come once you get to
If I get to that school and they try and teach me something, I'm going to be fuming.
I suppose you're not well into this. It's a school. You like teen-based school drama stuff, Kev?
Yes, Persona, I do. I've been playing a lot of Persona this week.
Exactly.
We'll get to that, I imagine.
I imagine once you get to the school, you'll be right in your element.
Absolutely.
Unless they want to talk to you.
I accidentally told that new girl that she was like, "Are we friends?" And I went to say yes, but I hit B instead of A. I said no, and I was like, I really hope that this game doesn't have any kind of mechanics in it. I don't think it would.
She was just like, "All right, then, see you later," and walked off.
She was like, "Oh, did I come on too strong? I'm sorry." And I was like, I said yes, and then I realised I'd hit B instead of A, and I was like, "Oh, god damn it!" Because I also accidentally went to name Wasabi. And I pressed B to delete the name out, which I thought was weird because it's like, do you want to rename the Pokemon? And then it puts the name in and you have to delete it. I thought, just make it blank. But I pressed B too many times then and exited it.
Oh,
and it said,
I did that. That was very annoying.
Yeah, so I had it in my head that there must be a way to change the name somewhere. And then I found it was just in the menu. When you go look at it, you can just change the name. But yeah, I must admit that the saying the wrong thing to the woman, Ollie pushing ahead of me and then telling me everything, and the fact that we both had our game music on really loud, I had to say to Mrs. Sheepdog, I need to go sit in the dark for a bit because I'm feeling a little bit overloaded and I just don't feel very well. And I was like, I don't want to sit here all miserable playing this because I've just suddenly got a bit. But yeah, my first maybe 10 minutes of interacting with this were a bit chaotic because I think part of it was just the music really, really getting through my head. But yeah, making mistakes like that, I was just like, this needs a little bit of a tweak. And I don't think it's necessarily bad stuff. Like, let's get it clear that none of this stuff's going to stop me buying these games forever and whatever. But sometimes you're like, you could have just left that blank and not made it so easy to accidentally back out of it when I've told you I want to name it. And are you sure?
And also, have you got the thing where the different songs are playing over the top of each other as well? So you're wandering around. And the background music is on, and then you get into a battle, and the battle music comes on, but the background music is still playing as well. So I've got both sets of music playing at the same time. Very annoying.
I'm not sure now because I think maybe, but I had Ollie playing behind me anyway. So I mean, that could have been another reason why I was feeling particular. I just felt like it was derailing my brain, and it's probably because I had 4 songs playing at once around me. But yeah, I love the feeling of going into these games not knowing what anything is. I had a bit of a fright with the Pokédex does a weird thing. I don't know if you've noticed this. Say you catch, I caught a Diglett, right? And then I caught a Buizel. And it showed them as though the Pokédex went Buizel, blank, blank, Diglett, blank, blank, another Pokemon that I'd caught. And I was like, well, Buizel only has 1 evolution, and so does Diglett. But this is showing me 3 gaps between Buizel and Diglett and Psyduck or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so I was really like, oh my God, they've added evolutions in. They must have. And Ollie was going, they might not have. It might just be a single Pokemon on its own. And then while I happened to be looking at the decks, I noticed that it randomly had, so Pokemon, I'd caught Pokemon number 1, 2, 3, let's say. And the Pokédex was going Pokemon 1, 2, 3, Pokemon 257, and then Pokemon 258. So it just randomly had a grayed out evolution of Grimmsnarl, I think it is, from Gen 8. That was just shadowed, a silhouette of it, showing me that's Pokemon 200 and whatever. And then the Diglett I'd caught or whatever. And it was like, I could then go through, and for some Pokemon I could see the evolution. So Lechonk, I can see it's got an evolution at least. I don't know if it's got any more because it sort of went 6, 7, 12, 13 or whatever, and didn't put any numbers in between, but it's randomly popped numbers out like, oh, here's Pokemon number 300 or whatever, and you can just see a silhouette of a Pokemon. And then it was going Breezel's evolution, a massive gap for another number, then Diglett, and it's confused me a bit because it's also not showing if a Pokemon I know has a third evolution is on there. It's not showing that, so that's confused me a bit because I was gonna.
The whole Pokedex is just random and confusing. I don't want it to be a stupid bookshelf or whatever it is.
That's odd.
I like the bookshelf.
It looks cool, but it's not useful to track because I caught a Hoppip early on, and they mentioned it was it's not clear how it comes to Paldea or where it come from, and I thought, oh, maybe it's a Paldean version and it will do something different. But then I saw the silhouette of the third evolution was the same as the old one, the Gen 2 evolution. So I was like, all right, I'd put it in my party thinking, right, I'll evolve you right up. And then when I saw it was the same, I've lobbed it in the box. It ain't coming out. I'll just catch its evolutions later on instead to me.
While we're piling on the Pokedex as well, because I do like a pile on, my first instinct when I'm in that very first bit, when you're left alone with a bag of balls and a load of Pokemon to catch, and I caught one, and then there's loads more of the same ones around me. Mm-hmm. First thing I did, went in the Pokedex to have a look what my little missions were, like we had on Legends Arceus. And how many of these do I need to catch? And it's not there. And I'm like, well, that was a cool thing in that game. Why have we not got a cool thing?
But
give me my cool thing back.
That was to build the Pokedex. So you've got to do the
research.
research.
But that was cool.
Yeah, but you've also got to remember, this is the second Pokemon game of the year. So as cool as those
things... But
it's
also the new gen game. This is the big one.
Yeah, and
this is the one that comes out every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and the last one was an experimental one. And
it was much better.
They can't like add those things that you liked into that in such a quick turnaround, I imagine.
I don't know.
Why show me they exist?
I don't know whether I don't think that's going to be in it, but I wasn't expecting it to be. But I also don't know because we're about to walk to a school. That could be homework, couldn't it?
Well, it better be. I want shenanigans. I don't want to just catch one of each and that be that.
One thing I did see in the advert is that the game's going to be. It's not just going to be go and do the 8 gyms, beat the Elite Four, and become a champion. There's also like a hunting treasure story. There's got these big Pokemon that you can fight. There's a fighting through different bases set up by this rival team that are just, I don't know what they're up to. I've not read it, but that you got to go beat them up and send your Pokemon roaming free, battling everyone while you try and do other bits and take on their boss. And so there will be other story bits to it that were kind of there before. I mean, even obviously the first Pokemon had the Team Rocket building you had to go through, but this feels like it's more of a game mode, and you can pick which game you want to focus on while you're playing it. But I think I read there was 4 game types overall. It might only be 3 because there's only 3 I can think of. But it sounds like there are more game modes to be done there, and I'm guessing the fact we can all play it together means there must be something you can do that would make that worthwhile. If we're just wandering around together and it's like, oh, there's Kev, he's playing the game. I don't see what the benefit of that is. Obviously, there's the raids as well. That'd be fun to do for a bit, getting different types of Pokemon. I think one thing that won't benefit any of us, that it's obviously putting, like, I'm not interested in this, but I know they're putting a lot of effort into it, is obviously the competitive scene later on. Catching Pokemon, building teams, having Pokemon that can be one type but also have a special thing they can do to move to another type that you won't necessarily know until they do it in the battle. It's adding a lot more unknown to the fighting other people. But I'm loving it. So I am loving it. I probably sound like I've been a bit. I don't mean to have been negative. I feel like there's just certain little flaws there, but I am loving it so far. I'm having a really good time. The fact that I think I'm on like level 14 with my Pokemon now, and I've not gone to that first building because I've just been catching everything I see. Having the legend immediately, which is a slight spoiler, but I think they showed that on the advert. You're getting the legend straight away, aren't you, basically?
Which, just out of curiosity, which ones are we playing?
I'm on Scarlet.
Hold on, I'm not sure which one
I'm
I put
on Violet.
in. Let me have a look. I'm doing Violet at the moment as well, yeah.
I only picked Violet. Go on.
No, you talk.
I was going to say, the only reason I picked Violet because that legendary, the Scarlet legendary, I don't understand it. Makes no sense. Like the Violet one, when you're riding around on it, it rides around on the wheels. The Scarlet one has the wheels and yet moves around with its arms. And I was like, that looks insane. what's the reasoning? It just made no sense to me. So I was like, I've got to go Violet then. That's my reasoning anyway.
This game has an element to it that I don't, because I've not read, I don't fully understand it, but I have seen. I skipped a video that came up on my TikTok. It kept happening, like people just brazenly talking about spoilers without any warning, and so I've picked up little bits, but I think they will probably explain through the story what's going on with all of that, and it'll make a bit more sense when we get there. But no, I'm on a. Ollie's trying to come in. No, shut the door. Sorry, everyone.
You will be.
So cheeky.
We're telling you what's happening next.
Yeah, probably.
What happens after the school? We need to know.
What was I going to say? So yeah, they there is a plot reason why I think there's some differences there. It does feel weird though. Seeing him puff his chest, he's got a big tire coming out of his chest. It's very frustrating. I found that a bit odd, but yeah, I'm playing Violet as well. I'm going to stream Violet. I agreed with Ollie that I'd use his copy of Violet on stream, and I would play Scarlet on my own. So that's how it's going to roll. I'm hoping this is a good enough gen to play twice. Do you know what I mean? Like I played Sword and Shield,
right.
probably. Yeah, I mean it should be. As I say, I am loving it.
Relatively good reviews.
Yeah, I loved Sword and Shield. I played it like 4 or 5 times all the way through. Completed the decks, all of that stuff. I am enjoying this so far. I'm just like, it'd be typical if this ended up being a bit boring, because it would be just my luck that it's the one I plan to play twice. But so far, no problems. Yeah, just fingers crossed it stays good. I've talked a lot on this. I know I am the Pokemon man, but have you got any more to say about it?
No, we've talked about it for longer than I've played it for.
Yes, possibly. I mean, the only thing I've had the reviews are damning on how it performs, the performance of it, and I can kind of.
It's very much Football Manager. I think I've certainly talked about this on stream. I'm not sure if we talked about it on the podcast, but it very much seems to be a developer that has a really big hardcore fan base that are going to buy the game regardless, and therefore they don't have to try very hard on stuff that just seems obvious. The graphics are ropey. The lack of voice acting is ridiculous. It's a bit clunky. It could have been so much better and so much more polished, but they know they don't need to because people are going to buy it anyway.
There's that. I think there's a tinge of that, but I also think into the start of next year, this console is 6 years old, and it was out of date when it came out. So, and I know, Nintendo can work magic with this stuff, but clearly other developers are having a harder time with it, and. I think, like I say, it's showing its age now. I think Nintendo Switch with a lot of things. So, like I say, I don't necessarily think it's all. They can do what they like because they know it'll sell. It will sell. It will. I'd be surprised if it doesn't match or outsell the previous one. But yeah, I think the Switch is just showing its age a little now.
I feel like they might have to do an update again soon for certain little bits of stability. If Kev's getting that audio issue, that's going to need a tweak.
I wonder if that was just a bug, however it was just. Is this going to be a regular? You know, can this? Is this a repeatable bug that is an issue, or it's just like a random one-off? We'll have to see.
Well, it seemed to be happening in every battle. So
really,
it wasn't just a one-off. Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe your old man ears were just hearing echoes or something. Sorry, I got slightly distracted there. This is a slight tangent, but I've just been told by Facebook that my account's been restricted because I posted basically a band I like announced they were doing a tour, and I jokingly said, "Can I sell a kidney or one of my children to go to America to watch this band?" And my account's been restricted for suggesting people trafficking. I'm just like,
right
damn it,
too.
Facebook.
Yeah.
That was clearly a mistake.
You shouldn't be using Facebook anyway, you weirdo. Get off Facebook.
Yeah, I know. But an alert came up saying your profile has been limited. And I was like, what does that mean? And I looked at it and it's like, yeah, people trafficking, selling children. I'm like, no. It was like, would you like to accept this decision or appeal it? I'm like, appeal. You've misunderstood. But yeah, if anyone wants to take me to California, I do want to see this band play though. But anyway, no, I think you're right, Pab. I look forward to seeing a more powerful Switch in the future and what sort of Pokemon Gen 10 will look like. But I think I don't have a problem with how they look really, because I played them on a smallish screen, and it's Pokemon. It wasn't the most advanced looking game when it was on the Game Boy, even, was it? I mean, there were lots of games that were much more advanced looking at that point. It's never been what they've been about. I was trying to have this conversation with someone before where I was like, if you're a business and you're already selling the most famous IP in the world and your games sell out more and more every generation, you've obviously weighed up whether voice acting is going to make a difference. Is it worth hiring people and going through the rigmarole doing it, yes or no? And have decided no. Is it worth pushing the graphics to the absolute limit? Is it going to sell more copies? Probably the answer's no. It's like, you know what I mean? They must be doing that analysis every time, and every time it must be, do you know what? No, Kev said he wants better graphics, but he's still bought both copies. Let's not bother. And I get that's a
manager syndrome.
Exactly. It's small increments. It's fine. I mean, I don't see what difference. If this was incredibly beautiful and blew me away, I'd still get used to it after 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Every game I've ever been blown away by the end of it, I'm not thinking about how pretty it looks. And if you want to go for super pretty and super in-depth and super extensive, Red Dead 2's been sat on my PS4 for the best part of, 5-6 years, and or however long it's been out, and I've not got beyond the first, 10 hours of that, and that was stunning for its time and all of that jazz, and it's got voice acting. Do you know what I mean? I'm not comparing the two, really, but I'm just saying it's not the be-all and end-all, is it? I'll rinse this, and I'm excited so far. It's new gen day. I'm discovering Pokemon I didn't know. You might have seen Pokemon I don't know exist yet, which means for once you've got the upper hand on a Pokemon. And Ollie, that's probably why Ollie came in, because he's probably wanted to show me a new Pokemon he's got. He already showed me what Lechonk evolves into, the little swine. Ollie, I mean, not Lechonk. I was like, why are you showing me this? We literally had this conversation. But anyway, yeah, I'll stop talking about it now. I am excited. I'm chuffed as a new gen. Happy with it so far. If you haven't bought it yet, go buy it. Buy it.
Pab, put an advert in before we talk about Pokemon anymore.
I won't be here for a minute. The dog is jumping at the door, so don't ask me what I've been playing.
Well, we won't.
Okay.
Pab, advert immediately. Well, while Anna is faffing around, dogging at the door, whatever she said she was doing, I have. Excuse me. I have been playing some more Persona 5 on the Steam Deck. I think this is part of why I was a little bit grumpy and negative about Pokemon, because having gone from playing Persona 5 on the Steam Deck to immediately picking my Switch back up and playing Pokemon, it's smaller, lighter, flimsier, doesn't look as good, doesn't sound as good, and the game is not as sexy and shiny and lovely. So yeah, that hit me hard, that transition from Persona back to the Switch and back to Pokemon. But Persona's still great. I've done the first couple of palaces now.
Yes, I don't even know when you're doing these.
I've only played 12, 15 hours.
You played it more than that to be done 2 palaces already.
Well, remember, I've played this game twice before. I know what to do.
I guess.
I'm not faffing about. I do a palace is 2 sittings for me. I do the first sitting is me finding the treasure, and then the second sitting, the next day, I go back in and get the treasure. I just make sure I'm loaded up with enough potions to be able to do the initial explore all in one go, and then the next day I go in and do the treasure, and then I get 2 or 3 weeks just to level up the relationships and stuff. Apologies for the additional cut there, boys and girls. My Go XLR just completely turned itself off and everything went bad. I've pretty much done talking about Persona anyway. It's great. I'm playing more of it. I've now got to kind of balance out playing Pokemon and playing Persona, because I've got to get Persona finished. Because I think Persona 3 hits Steam early next year. I have heard rumblings it's February. Is it that Persona 3 hits Steam?
Yeah.
So I need to get Persona 5 done by then. But I also need to get this Pokemon game done. Both of them, because obviously I've bought both. So I need to get them both played through by then.
What do you mean both?
And I'm going to play both of them.
The Pokemon. Got you. Yeah.
So I've got to make sure I don't get too many culture shocks jumping between the 2 devices. I do like a handheld.
Do you know what? I've got 2 things to say here. From what I understand, Violet is it's not different in terms of like the steps, because obviously Ollie and I were literally playing the same scenes, but there are differences between the two games that make it, that from what I understand, make it worth playing both of them. Usually in the other gens, it's like there's just a different room, like there's a different gym battle, or there's a different Pokemon that you can get in that you can't get in the other one. But this one seems to have a different slant on it, and I don't fully know it because I've avoided spoilers, but I just heard little bits here and there that it feels to me, it sounds like Violet is set with a different bit of plot to it. I think even at the beginning, mine was talking about tradition, and Ollie said his was talking about something else in their little speech at the very start. I'm sure Ollie said his speech was different. I might be wrong on that, but he said something, and then mine started and said something else, and I was like, ooh, is that a difference? But yeah, it should be worth playing.
We almost stopped talking about Pokemon there, boys and girls.
Sorry.
I've dragged it back.
The other thing I was going to say was I am
Probably
trying so
about
hard
Pokemon.
to get back into handheld gaming, and I can't get comfortable with it. I've been playing Live Alive, whichever way it is. I've been playing Pokemon. I've been playing other things on my Switch, but I cannot get comfortable laying down playing it.
You don't have to lay down. That's not compulsory. You can sit in a chair like a human.
Yeah.
You don't have to lay down.
Holding it annoys me, I think. It's like, I mean, part of it is that my Switch
What
has
are you
got
playing?
the Switch in general. Yeah.
You can play
You need to get a grip for it. Get a grip. A grip is crucial.
Well-
Why aren't you playing it docked?
That's what I'm saying. I've been playing it docked, but I've been trying to play it handheld. That was the point I was making. It's a handheld console.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
I thought you, right.
Part of me has the problem that the controllers don't stick in enough, and sometimes random buttons just press, or the sticks lock, and all those things that old Switches have. Because it has been getting on. Probably if it wasn't due a new one at some point in the near future, it'd probably be worth me getting an OLED just to upgrade. But
Awesome new Joy-Cons.
yeah, I do wonder
Let's
whether
solve
new
the
Joy-Cons would be the answer. I mean,
Yeah, I'm on my third set of Joy-Cons now.
I've got 4.
I'm sure
maybe
my
that is
first
the idea then.
ones.
And yours got dunked in cappuccino.
No, you said you swapped it.
Yeah, of course I did.
Kevin,
I must have done. It works, doesn't it?
you're so mean.
One thing, and being a bit thick here, one thing I probably need to do is take off the plastic case I put on it and see whether that's causing any issues. Should try that. But I found that I was sat there playing it handheld and then decided it was uncomfortable, and I went and got my controller and I laid it funny, but then I was getting uncomfortable with that, so I ended up just docking it and playing it on my monitors instead. But I don't know whether the Switch is putting me off it, because I used to play handheld games, but I was like, I don't want a Steam Deck because I'm not enjoying playing my Switch handheld. That's my problem. It's like, I keep thinking, well, I don't really play the Switch enough. I got a Vita and I played that a bit at the time, but I just never really found many games that really bit me on that. And I know Persona's one of them, and I should have probably pushed through with that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of like, would I benefit from a Steam Deck? Would I want the next Switch if it was handheld? I don't know. I mean, if I haven't got a choice and they're all going to be handheld consoles from Nintendo now, then obviously I'll do that. But yeah, I'm finding I'm struggling with handheld lately.
Maybe you need some more comfortable controllers for them.
Yeah,
or try it in a chair rather than lying down.
but I only have two states. I'm either sat in my computer chair, or I'm laying down on the sofa, or I'm sat at a dinner table. But I'm not going to play consoles games at a dinner table. If I'm on the sofa, I'm laying
Pokemon
down.
at the dinner table earlier.
Sorry,
I was playing Pokemon at the dinner table earlier. Anna couldn't find me. I was in the kitchen.
Yeah,
because that's not
he
where
he
someone.
went down because he thought someone was at the door. He went down. I came down thinking to be in his office. He weren't there. I shouted him. Nothing. So I was like, fine.
Except my headphones on.
But you just don't do that.
I just went and had a cup of beverage in the
But
kitchen.
you didn't say where you were going. You said you were coming back.
I've got an AirTag in my pocket. You could find me if you really wanted me.
Oh wow!
But yeah, Persona aside, the only other thing I've played this week, Football Manager. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's quite good. Over to you, Rascals. We've been going nearly an hour already. This is mad.
Football Manager. On that topic, I did a international stream the other day, and I understand what you mean when you say it's the World Cup year. They should have done some sort of international update to it, because I asked you whether it would just kick off in November, like you said. You were like, yep. And then the only date I could pick with all the leagues I'd loaded was middle of September when the Champions League started. I said on my tweets, I'm going to skip through to the World Cup. I'll just go to picking the squads. And it made me play through 2 Nations League games and a friendly before it got to the World Cup. By that point, I'd upset a few. I'd lost all of them, so everyone was against me. And then I did the whole World Cup. I got to the final against Portugal. It was 0-0, 80 minutes. My assistant manager kept giving stupid advice, and I wasn't really paying attention because I was chatting to the chat. And then when we were in extra time at 0-0 in the World Cup final, I realised that somewhere along the line, in around the 85th minute, I'd taken Harry Kane off and put not youth player, it was Tammy Abrahams. I put him on for his World Cup debut in extra time in the World Cup final, and we lost to Portugal 1-0. And I was really
Tammy
annoyed.
is better than Harry Kane in the match engine. If you'd have used Tammy right, it'd have been a much better option. I'd have started Tammy and played Kane in midfield.
I started Ivan Toney alongside Kane. So weirdly, what I'd been doing, not to go on a full football thing here, but the game had told me to start with like 2 defensive midfielders and a central midfielder. And then possibly 1 instead of 2. And then what I ended up doing was just putting 2 people up front and only having 2 people in the middle. And England suddenly won every game and was absolutely outstanding from that point. I barely had to do anything else. They were just, scoring for fun. But yeah, I'm a bit miffed because when it only gives you a split second to read what's said and click a button. I was just sending anyone who was injured or tired, like Mason Mount or whatever. I was going, yep, swap them out. But it should be clever enough to know that you wouldn't ever take your best striker off in the World Cup. I don't know. Everyone was like, my mate said to me, you'd have been lynched in real life if you'd done that. If Gareth Southgate just whipped him off in the 80th minute for no reason, it'd be like, what on earth is he doing? But that was a bit of a letdown.
I've just done a video that will be coming out an hour after this podcast, actually, where I've simulated the World Cup 100 times. And in one of the World Cups, I think England won it 14 times in 100 attempts.
Wow.
And the first one of those, Harry Kane didn't appear in the final. Jack Grealish played up front as a false 9 and England won the final. So you wouldn't necessarily have been lynched. Gareth Southgate AI version is one step ahead of you and has perfected playing with 8 defenders and no strikers at all and still win the tournament.
So my feedback on this is more a case of Kev's bang on that they really should have done some kind of international upgrade on this. They should have considered this a World Cup release, and that would have made a lot of sense. I feel like they've missed 2 things here because they completely abandoned the prospect of doing any kind of real update with the women's side, didn't they? And
that's coming. It's already.
But we've literally won the World Cup this year, and you think they'd have gone, okay, this is pretty big, and now we've won it, we should probably throw everything behind
the Euros, you madman.
I mean, yeah, all right, won the Euros. I didn't watch it because I'm a monster.
Sheepdog hates women's football.
No, I don't, but I don't have any skin in the game. I don't know any of the players, so it's like, I'm not going to sit and watch. I didn't know it was on until we were in the quarters. I said this before. My wife mentioned we were in the quarterfinals, and I was like, I didn't even know it was on. I'm streaming. And then, I was just doing other stuff when the semis and the final were on. But I'm probably not going to watch much of this one, to be honest, when it starts, whenever it is, over the weekend. But yeah, Football Manager, it's okay. And it was bugging out a little bit at times, but I felt that's just because it's early days. They'll do a patch and all of that stuff. But it's been fun. I think that's all I've played. I don't think I've played anything else since. I've got a few games for Ben, but I can't remember their names off the top of my head, so I'm not going to review them.
Anna.
Yep.
You've not said much so far.
What is it to say? You talk about Football Manager and Pokemon. 2 things.
And Persona.
Yeah.
You tell us all about God of War then, because you've been playing loads
I
of that.
really can't tell you much about God of War. Again, it's new. It's a story game. I've played 30 hours of it, and 30? All the time... 30 hours, yeah.
But nothing to say about it.
Yeah, but I can't because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but... It's definitely nothing like the first one. Like I was expecting like more of the same. It's not. It goes upwards, sideways, underneath, all around. It's so good. Like I do play it every day for a few hours and then I go away. I was on guide, so like I think there's 4 difficulty difficulty stages. I was on the second one, so I was like, give me like, I want to do a bit of both. I've now dropped that to story because it was getting too hard, and I'm on story and it is still a little bit too hard. It ramps up the difficulty as you go through it. Like the start, I was hitting things and they were going down, but now, because obviously you open more like more upgrades and stuff, you need to remember button presses, and I don't, because I just press like the one and just whip my axe or my chains around. But then, and like your shield, but then obviously as you add more upgrades you need to remember them, and I'm not very good at remembering these, so I'm getting there. I'm getting through it. I'm just about surviving. Thank God for the revive stones that you can get in the game, because if I didn't have them I would have put this game away now. So I did walk away from it last week because I was in a room, and like it was an enclosed room, and I went to leave. So you went through a door, there was like a corridor, and then the door outwards, and there was a boss there, and I could not beat this enemy. I was like, that's it, I'm not playing it anymore. I just put it down, went away, did whatever, came back the next day, beat it first try. So sometimes you just need to relax and just wait and go back to it, and then you can do it. But yeah, you just need to work out like their moves and when to block and when to stun and how to use like Atreus, how to use him, and because like obviously he's there, he can fight, but you can also like order him to do certain things, so like his arrow and his jumping on the back of things, and obviously you can upgrade him to do more independently from you. So yeah, it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's like what I saw from all the videos, and I was like, oh, I know how this is going to go. I could have the story in my mind. Yeah, it's not gone that way at all. It's really good, and it's like, oh, it's like, because I saw people playing it on like YouTube. I wasn't watching, but you know how you have like the thumbnails, and the thumbnails were coming up with like characters. I was like, in the first video, I was like, I haven't seen that character in the first like hour and a half they've played the game. I'm like, where's this character? It's like, have I missed something? So they're a bit misleading. I was like, because I haven't I've seen that character now, but why they had them in like their first video as a thumbnail, I don't understand it, because it's like that's nowhere near the start, and I was like, that's weird. But yeah, it's a story that if you've played the first one and you liked it, it's a story just to get your teeth into, and just yes, because like when you start the game there is like a what happened before, like from the first game, just so you've got like a refresh of what's going on, and you're like, oh god, yeah, that happened and this is happening and that's got to happen. So yeah, it's so good. Like there's like in the first, like the birds, the ravens that you could hit, like Odin ravens. In the first one, there was nothing. You just hit them, and that was just collectible. But now, there is a reason to do that. I'm not going to tell you the reason, but get them birds. Yes, they're annoying when they're flying around, but if you get them birds, then something happens, and it's like, oh, that's really good. Like, I can see how they say nothing is missable to do with like the trophies. Everything is doable, and like I'm going through it now. Like when I've been going through areas, there's like things I can't use because I didn't have the equipment, and now I'm going back to them areas, and now I've got like more areas to explore because I have certain equipment. So it is annoying at first because you're like, I want to know what's over there and I want to know what's through there, but you can't do it because you don't have them. But now you do. You're like, you got to remember where they all are, and like, oh yeah, I remember there's a chest over there, but I couldn't get it because I needed a certain equipment. So yeah, it's it's got like so many characters from like the first one. The first one you had like a handful. This time you've got many, and they're all got their own stories and just how they intertwine. It's so good. It's like, so just wanna. I want to finish it, but then I don't want to finish it because it's like this game was like for me. This is all I wanted to play, and now I have it. I don't want it to ever finish because I played the first one twice. So yeah, that's how good it is. But yeah, play it. Like I was telling Kevin the other day, like, yeah, I'm not gonna say it because it'll spoil the end. But yeah, very different from the first one. Play it if you played the first one. I loved it. It's just, it's that but more, and for that you just more, and it's excellent. And like I said, I played 30 hours. I think it's 40 to do like everything because obviously I'm me. If they give me a side mission, I'm off to do that. I don't care about the main story. I just want to go and do that, which is fun because like even if you're doing them, you always know like the snippets of the main story. You know what's happening because everything intertwines. And like with Mimir, who like sits on your hip like a head, who talks, he's always talking to you about what like the main like quest. So it's always there going on in the background, even though you're doing these like other side missions, and they're fun. Like I want to do them. So yes, go with it. But that is literally all I have played. Like literally, because that's all I have time for at the moment. But yes, Pab, over to you. Have you played anything else?
Nothing else. So you've played 30 hours of God of War.
Yes.
I feel like last week you'd played 15 hours of God of War.
Yes.
You've doubled your time.
Yes.
I have also doubled my time this week. I'd played 4 hours of God of War. I've now played 8 hours of God of War.
Wow.
So I've not even reached your 15 yet.
Oh gosh.
Where can I say I'm up to? I've just finished the main quest. Well, the first main quest in Alfheim.
Right. Okay.
So I've met. I can say I've met Tia because Tia is in all the footage.
Oh yeah.
Trailers for the game.
Yeah.
I met a squirrel fella.
He's
you know
excellent.
what I mean?
Yeah.
The squirrel fella. Yeah, I don't remember his name. No, he's got an actual name that I can't remember now.
It
but
begins
it's,
with an R. I don't know.
Yeah,
But he's fun.
Yeah. He seems all right. I've embarked on my first. You said if you get a side quest, you're going doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing the opposite. I feel like I'm doing the opposite. I don't want anything to do with side quests if I can help it.
Really?
Because I felt the same way about the original game, and I feel the same way now. The combat is just a slog at times. I think it's just it's just really. Like you said, I just kind of mash the buttons and I don't really follow combos very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it a real, like, it's really heavy and deliberate, and it's a slog to get through any battle. It's a pain. I mean, I've just been through Alfheim and been fighting the light and dark elves, and then
they are a pain.
They're a blocking half the time. It's like, I just don't want to do it. I'm doing the side quest after in Alfheim at the minute, because it literally said, you got to go and look for where this sound is coming from, and you're going on a trail of a beast or something, or whatever it is you're doing. I don't know. I've not done it yet, but I'm on the trail for it. And
I know where you are.
I don't mind the traversal. I don't mind moving around and stuff. But the combat is just, all I do is just pretty much at range. Some enemies turn up at range. I just throw my axe at them. They kind of freeze up a little bit. I call the axe back. I throw it back at them again. Oh, they start blocking, so I've now got to run over to them and then let them attack me a bit. I dodge it and then just swipe around at the axe for a while. I'm not really using the chains very much.
Oh, use the chains. Gosh.
I probably should do.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I've just been like, I like the axe more. I don't know why. I at one point it said to me, like, just after I'd done that quest, he went, "You've got loads of skill points. If you want to put them in something," I went, "Oh yeah, skill points. I forgot about that." And I've practically filled the entire tree up.
Yeah.
There's I'm on the bottom row where there's some that are locked at the minute.
Yeah.
I'm on that bottom row. I'm like, how can I have finished a skill tree already? This seems insane.
It is a weird one, but like I said, I'm on 30 hours and I still haven't opened everything. So it's all based on your armor. It's based on how much upgrade your armor you've got, your weapon upgrades, because like you only can upgrade your weapons when you've got certain
crafting materials and
so and you can only find them at certain times. So yes, you can upgrade like add on your accessories to your weapons, and obviously they help. But I've still got, I think, level 6 and I think 7 somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's you'll be fine. You'll just
it's not. I'm just waiting for it to get to the point where I'm not to say over leveled, overpowered for it. I want to become. I feel like it's not just a real like hassle for when some like people come flying in or some like little creepy crawlers come crawling at the sand or whatever. I'm like, oh, here we go. Do it again. Just slash around at these enemies for a bit and right, carry on. Where were we?
But like is the story not grabbing you at all?
That's the thing. That's the only reason I'm playing it. And it's the same. It
That
was the same with the last
was
one.
so excellent.
It's the same for the other one.
Yeah.
I needed. I put it down. I put it down initially, and I'm starting to think back now, thinking I did the exact same with Horizon earlier this year.
Yeah.
It just wasn't grabbing me. The combat wasn't really amazing in it. I did the same with the previous God of War, and it's the only thing that is keeping me going is the story stuff, and it is now starting to get more, like I say, it's just drip feeding at the minute, and I think it'll like snowball and it'll push in a certain direction at a certain point. I'm not disliking it at all. I'm not disliking it. I just think it's a bit slow, and I'm not a massive fan of the combat right now, but I wasn't at the previous one, and I still loved that game. So I think, like I said, by the end of it, and I get into the rhythm of what I'm doing, and if I actually learn the bloody combos and stuff like that, if I learn just some basic stuff, so I mean, you go into skill tree and it says, do this, press R1, and then pause, and then press R1 2 more times. You're like, what? And then it shows a video of doing it. And go, that's really cool. And then I try and do it. And I'm just like, no, this isn't work. And then I randomly do it while I'm out of combat at some point where I'm just randomly pushing the button. I go, oh, there you go, did it? Go in combat. No, never. Can never do it in practice.
Oh, puzzles though. Sometimes I have to look up puzzles because I sit there and I go, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's so obvious. And
I've been finding most of the chests so far. Some of the chests I look and I go, one of them in Alfheim, he goes, I think Atreus comes up and goes, there's a chest over there, can we get to it? And then Kratos goes, no, we can't. I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to stop looking then, because I can see a chest all the way over there.
Yeah,
there's got to be a way of me getting it, and then eventually you loop round through a cave just to me end up coming to you like, there you go. Thank you for stopping me looking 20 minutes for a way to get over to that.
Because you do, that's the thing. You actually you know it's there, and you're like, yeah, exactly, because it's like a big sign, like I'm here, and you're like, you're there. How do I get to you? Yeah, I've been there, done that. Yeah.
But similar, like kind of the opposite for the side quest. I'm like, the side quest. I mean, like I say, the Alfheim one I'm doing because I was literally in Alfheim, and it wanted to. The main story takes me back through the door. And
I think you have to do it.
So I was like, I'm here. Let's do it. The other one was like, go back to this place and go all the way across the map. I was like, I'm not doing it. No, if I happen to pass by it, I'll do it. But I know I should do the side quests. But I think I've just probably got to get into the right frame of mind to do it. Whereas now I'm just kind of invested in the story enough to where I'm pushing through the combat, I'm pushing through everything else just to get the story stuff. So hopefully, like I say, I'll get to the point where
some of the side quests are worth doing, though.
Oh, I bet they are. But like I say, I need the story to proper get its hooks in me and get some juicy gossip on it and what I want to do and what have you. And then enough for me to be invested enough to be like, okay, what if I go over to this side quest? What if I do this side quest? And that'll give me further information and encourage you to play the game more. because, like I say, right now I feel like I'm just slogging through it just to get to the story stuff, and that's all I'm interested in. And no matter how many side quests you throw at me, I'm not really interested unless it's put right on my lap.
I don't think you have to do them. Like, I've seen people who have finished it. I've not touched a side quest, where there's people like me who will go and do every side quest they can possibly do. And like, some of them are spanned across all realms that are open to you, and I'm like, well, I haven't found it. I'm like, there's one where I have to collect 9 of these things, and I found 2, and I'm 30 hours in. So yeah, they're quite fast.
There's some of the chests that you'll probably have items at this point where it's like, you know, them chests you've got to like activate something to trigger a chest. Oh god, yeah. And then my mate goes, "Oh, we can't do that now. You need a certain item." And I go, "I'll never see this chest then." And that's it. Odds are me remembering where that chest is, and me being bothered to come back to it is minimal. Yeah, I will forget that chest exists. At the moment, it is the only thing I'm focusing on is opening this chest. Being told I can't open it and have to come back later. Yeah, it is not going to happen unless it forces me back past it at some point. Yeah, it ain't happening. I'm not making it's not like Breath of the Wild where I can put a pin down and go, come back to this at some point. No, I wish it would, because, like I say, odds of me remembering there's a chest in a certain little cave down in the depths of Alfheim ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So, but yeah, that is pretty much the only things I've played. I've played some of Pokemon today, and another 4 hours. Oh no, Crisis over. Well, no, almost crisis over, folks. I have unlocked Spider-Gwen on Fortnite. Yeah, we've got there. We got to level 100. I'm on 104 now. Now I've just got to get to another however many levels, 50 odd levels, to unlock the one without the mask, so she looks like Gwen from Spider-Verse.
Oh, I love that film. Great.
It's such a cool skin, and I want to get it, but it's so long. It's such a slog to get there now, and I've got what, 2 weeks? I think December 2nd is the end of this season. I've got a couple of weeks left.
Do you lose them then after that on the 2nd?
No, you don't. If you don't unlock them, you lose them. Yeah, you don't.
Annoying.
So you've got. So it's the grind is on now. Yeah. The grind is on to get these levels, and there is at some point where I can buy levels. I can buy 25 levels if I have to. So if it's getting to that point, if it gets to that point, I will do it, because I want this skin that much. I want, and I've already got the V-Bucks for it. It's not an issue. I can do it now if I wanted to. Yeah. But I want to see if I can do it myself without doing it, because I've made quite a lot of progress on the Battle Pass this week. But yeah, that is literally it for me this week.
Is that it for all of us then?
I believe so.
Yes.
Don't mind me. I'm just trying to invite people to my Discord just in case Twitter falls apart over the weekend. I was doing some admin. But we will wrap things up there. If you do want to follow us on Twitter, just in case it still exists when this podcast comes out, it's at MGUK Podcast. I'm Lelujo on Twitter and also everywhere else. Don't worry, if Twitter dies, you can still find me.
I'm at RB6K on Twitter, but if you look for Sheepdog 6K everywhere else, my branding's a bit rough. So if Twitter goes, I mean, I'll be more consistent with Sheepdog 6K.
I'm at Mr. Lujo. I don't really have anything to add on to that.
I'm at Pab 1986.
And we will see you next week, boys and girls.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, folks.